Good afternoon. I'm Myron Belkine. I'm the 107th president of the National Press Club. I was international correspondent for 40 years in Southeast Asia, South Asia, Europe, and Japan, and I have one regret. I was never assigned to your beautiful country. But Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell, we are honored to have you. I'm the first president of the Press Club with a long international career, as I just mentioned, and we have declared this the International Year. And thank you for contributing to our active goal this year of having many world leaders and other leaders come to the National Press Club. I would like to begin in a little different way by making a presentation to you that we often give to world leaders when they are here, and that is the presentation of the National Press Club mug. And we hope that you will use it well. Thank you. This is a very special day because not only are we having a newsmaker given by the Prime Minister of Grenada, this event is also being used and will be shown back in Grenada to sign a very important agreement, memorandum of understanding between the government of Grenada and the Carbon War Room. And I think that's the other very important formality we want to do. Of course, the first important formality was the presentation of the mug. The second is to have the Prime Minister and Jeff Erickson, the Director of Global Projects for the Carbon War Room, sign the memorandum of understanding, which they will now do. It's now my pleasure to introduce the person from the National Press Club, a member of the Newsmakers, on behalf of the Newsmakers Committee, a member of the Board of Governors, Chair of the International Correspondence Committee, Molly McCluskey.
Thank you, Myron. You know, Dr. Mitchell, you and I first met several months ago when Ambassador Friday was presenting his credentials to OAS. And I remember that although everyone at OAS was clamoring for your attention, proving you were very popular at OAS, which I understand is not something that happens very often, you and I were still able to speak for more than 10 minutes about the sustainable initiatives that are happening in Grenada. I was so intrigued that, of course, when we learned you were back in town, we absolutely had to have you here to talk about those initiatives here with our National Press Club members and members of the press. So Dr. the Right Honorable Prime Minister Keith C. Mitchell will discuss the launch of an initiative on sustainable development, small island economies, and the Caribbean's new vision for a dynamic and green hemisphere at our National Press Club Newsmakers this afternoon. Prime Minister Mitchell earned his master's degree in Washington, D.C. at Howard University and a doctorate in mathematics and statistics from American University. And I remember you told us several months ago that when you're in Washington, it feels like you're coming home. So welcome back. He's here meeting with the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, and he was speaking to them about the opportunities for Grenada and other island nations to harness the $6 trillion market for renewable energy and sustainable industries. Now, like all newsmaker events, as you all know, this news conference is open to credentialed media only and members of the National Press Club. And so just a quick ground rule, when we finish with our speakers' remarks, we will open the floor up to questions and answers. Please identify yourself and your media, and keep your questions short, please, no speeches. And now, Dr. Mitchell.
Thank you, Molly. Members of the press, let me first thank you for having me here this afternoon at the National Press Club. Of course, I've been here a couple of times before in different capacities, but I welcome the opportunity to share some of our vision as far as Grenada is concerned and the region on various aspects of development. First of all, let me just make the point that I've been Prime Minister of Grenada from 1995 to 2008, and the people of the country gave me a sabbatical for 5 years, and then we got me out of sabbatical back again into government as head of the government. In 1999, during the first term, during the election of that year, they gave me a unanimous vote of confidence where I won all the seats in the parliament of the country. That was the second time in the Caribbean region, probably in the Commonwealth, that happened. St. Vincent was the first, I think in 1988 or 89. And another Mitchell, James Mitchell of St. Vincent. So the Mitchells have a way of creating history in the electoral process. But again, and that first time I was in government when one of my members resigned and I was forced to call elections instead of carrying on with a minority government. But this time, in 2013, I was in opposition. And yet in the campaign, we again won all the seats in the parliament of the country. So in the lower house of government, there is no opposition. In fact, I've made the point a few times that I'm not sure I enjoy this because I like to see somebody opposing me on the other side to motivate me. So I'm speaking to the speaker of creating a dummy man on the other side, so that would help me to feel. Having said that, friends, I think what is important here is this. Having got this massive mandate, the tendency of sometimes when we feel we have this kind of strong support is to conduct ourselves in a manner which is demonstrative arrogance and forget that people are the ones who put us there. In the aftermath of the elections of the night, I pledged the people of the country that the mandate you've given me, I have accepted it humbly. And I pledge to you that I will not use it to demonstrate any level of arrogance or autocratic behavior, and that any major decisions in the country will involve the people of the country. Because people vote for you today and tomorrow they're ready to run you out of government. We are aware of that in our democracy, and that's quite a right to be so. So, having taken the country in a time of great economic stress, and probably that had contributed to the government unpopularity, we, having assessed the economic situation in the country and regionally and internationally, it was clear to me that it could not have been business as usual. It's my view that the people voted overwhelmingly for serious change, and they wanted us to stop playing games with them, but to do what is right, even if it is unpopular to do so, but it is incorrect to do so. So we decided that we had to, first of all, stabilize the fiscal situation in the country. We couldn't carry on as we were going, and we had to ensure that we had 5 years of negative growth in the country, and anytime you have negative growth like that consistently, that means recession. It means a lot of basic stuff will not be provided to the people. So the healthcare was in trouble, education in trouble, the infrastructure is in decaying. Every aspect of life, we are real serious problems. So we had a high debt situation and so on. So we came clear to the people and said, look, we have to restructure the economy of the country. We have to seek some international debt relief, which is painful for those our creditors. We had to ask our people to make more sacrifices in spite of the fact that they're going through tough economic times. That was not an easy sell, but we were honest with the people. We came forward and asked all our social partners to be at the table with us. He opened the books to them, explained the whole situation, told them we need their support if we're going to move forward. And therefore we had the churches, the leadership of the churches in the country to come into the table. The business community as its leadership was there. The trade union movement was one of the most difficult ones because, let's face it, they represent the workers whom we are asking to accept a bigger cut in their income, so to speak. And so it was tough, but they were at the table, and the non-governmental community, and of course led by the government. So in the first meeting, we agreed on a set of rules on the way forward. And we agreed that we will meet monthly, every month, that I will chair the meeting of the social partners, which is what we define it as, and that we will work together on all initiatives in the programs that we're going forward with in the international community and what we are trying to sell to the people of the country. And I must say, in my 30 years of political activities in Grenada, I've never seen a more united front. It is said that probably sometimes it takes a difficult situation to bring people to their senses. If that is what is the case, well, I think Grenadians by and large have accepted this. And therefore, we told our international friends, regionally and internationally, that they have to join us in this effort. And therefore, having seen that the people have accepted the necessity for sacrifice, we engaged the IMF, who of course would be seen as the lead agent for getting the other international countries and governments involved in supporting Grenada. That's why I'm here in Washington today to explain to the international community, to ensure that they understand that Grenada is meeting its side of the bargain, and therefore they need to come to the table. And I am heartened to tell you today that we have found quite strong support from all our international friends. All the directors of the IMF, the World Bank, the Caribbean Development Bank, the European Union, the friendly governments, Britain, the United States, Canada, tout le monde, as people would say, they all have in fact accepted that Grenada is doing its fair share and they must not let us down. So I am going back home, really, friends, with a sense of a good heart, feeling that we have the support of the international community and we have the support of the Grenadian people. What a better place one can be for a leadership, the leader of a country. Now, even given this, there are challenges still. So, and one of the fundamental problems that we face is the question of energy. Our signing this today signifies two important aspects. Yes, we have to do something about the whole question of environment and the destruction of environment through the use of fossil fuels, and of course, the continued destruction of our individual societies. And Grenada is high on this because we know what this has caused. We suffered enormously when Hurricane Ivan struck Grenada with vengeance, that the country was flattened. I got up the morning as Prime Minister and I felt sorry for myself. With a country that you work hard to build, and it's like a matchbox that you held in your hands, smashed to pieces. And almost every home on the ground, your nutmeg and cocoa, which were the mainstay of exports for the country, were all destroyed. In fact, President Bush, I must always say, called me the morning after. He had difficulty getting to me, and he sent his ambassador from Barbados and pledged American support. And within a few days, Secretary of State Colin Powell came to Grenada, and I would never forget this. He spent a day in Grenada and never left my side, because I think he realized I was a broken person, and he wanted first and foremost to give me that moral and psychological support. I would never. And America announced one of the largest aid support that they have given to the region, to one country, that President Bush gave, together with the Congress, gave all the sides, political sides, gave Grenada tremendous support. So, but I was going back to the whole issue of energy. We have a situation in our country today that, through the decision of another government, the country, the electricity company, which is the sole provider of electricity, was sold to one provider based in Miami, and was given a monopoly, not only a monopoly to provide electricity to the country, but to generate any form of energy. In other words, if you decide to generate any energy in the country, based on the law, it was illegal. You could not do it. You have to get the permission of that company to do so. If you, in your home, and you decide to buy a generator to provide electricity, they could have taken you to court, as they have done with a couple businesses. That's how bad the situation. And they gave them for 72 years monopoly. Now, the cost of electricity is over 45 cents per kilowatt, US. With that, the businesses are in trouble. You can't compete. The hotel sector is floundering. The manufacturing sectors have serious problems in competition to ensure that they can get any serious business in export. Then you have a situation where the consumers in the country are being, many of them have to literally stop accessing the service of electricity. And you could imagine, I come from a very poor family background. I understand what poverty is. And you go to the rural community and you see the ladies with the 5 and 6 children going to secondary school and no electricity. Could you imagine in the 21st century that a child is not able to access the information age, information technology, and other? That means you are saying to them, you are going to be in poverty for your life. That situation cannot be tolerated. So it's the cost of electricity affecting all aspects of life. So not only the issue of climate change and the environment that we are concerned about, and we are championing as a country, because I told you I know the effect of this through Hurricane Ivan and other disasters we've had. But the cost of the service is unacceptable. So we are getting the support of the international community to liberalize the whole question of the generation of electricity. The issue is not having one provider to provide service to electricity, the national grid, but the generation of electricity should be liberalized, just like we have liberalized telecommunication, because I led the negotiations for the entire OECS as Prime Minister then for the liberalization of telecommunication. And today we see the benefits of the liberalization of telecommunication, which is highly correlated with economic activity. So we are moving in that direction, and we thank God we have the support of the international community. Friendly governments throughout the world recognize the situation cannot be sustained, and therefore we are very happy to report that we are getting this, the support from all our friends. My friend, Grenada therefore has the opportunity to pursue cheaper renewable energy, whether it's solar, wind, geothermal, particularly solar and wind. There's several parts of the country which are prime targets for generation of that form of energy, and we are in fact going to be looking to that. We hope by the year 2030 we'll have 50% of the energy we produce as renewable energy. And of course, that's a good sounding noise for the cabin room, because as the meeting we had in not long ago an island in the Caribbean with Branson, we pledged our commitment jointly with, I hosted a meeting with Branson to ensure that we move away from fossil fuel within the next 5 years maximum. Now, encouraged by the expression, we are certainly encouraged by the expression of support from the U.S. State Department. I just had a meeting with the State Department. Strong support in moving to renewable energy and helping us to access this as quickly as possible. OPIC is also supportive and moving forward. We are working together to do this. And of course, the Carbon War Room, as you seen a short while ago, is now accepting that we'll work together in this area. The World Bank and the IFC are also on board, so we are extremely happy that we're getting this level of international support, private and public sector. We are therefore, as we have seen, have signed this, and this is not just a token signature, it's a signature with deep and solid meaning of our commitment to this process. Grenada will be there at every international meeting where the whole question of climate change is in fact articulated. We are going to be there. In addition to building a green economy, we are building a blue economy to harness our coastal and marine resources, and a knowledge-based economy to harness our brain power. It was known that the Molinier Nature Conservative Site in St. George's is in my own constituency. It's a world site. Those of you who know about this. In fact, the last IMF meeting here in Washington, I did in fact, speaking to Lagarde, the IMF president, and when I told her that the IMF was, I saw that the IMF today had a much more warmer heart than it had before. It was seen as an institution in my days in Washington, as one would say, just balance the books, and there was no, the human side wasn't there. I said to her, I noticed now that the IMF has a lot more human side to it. I did tell her that maybe because she's there as a woman, that this has, the human side is shown. I told her, don't let the men spoil you. So at the end of it, she came forward and she said, I heard about Molinier site. I have to come down there to dive. It's quite a clear example of the popularity and the world recognition of that important site. So we have tremendous potential in those areas, and we are not going to sit by, but use it effectively as possible. We wish also to develop a medical park for medical tourism. We just came from an institution, an architectural firm, who was working with us and looking at some of our vision for advancing this particular area. We have in Grenada one of the top 4 offshore medical schools, St. George's University. Wherever you go, you meet, or wherever parts of North America, with Canada, US, no matter what cities, people come up to you and say, my sister went to St. George's University, my auntie went there, my husband, or almost every part of the North America, people can identify with the presence of some of the family members in St. George's University. It's a top-class university, and it's one of the most significant aspects of our gross domestic product. So we don't treat it lightly. And the Chancellor of the University, Dr. Mordecai, and the government of Grenada working very feverishly to bring that top-class medical institution to Grenada. We make Grenada a place for serious medical services, harnessing the potential of the school, but that of the environment in our country. It's important, as I mentioned, knowledge base. Because of my mathematical and scientific background, the Caribbean prime ministers, the recently concluded heads of government have asked me to lead the whole question of information and communication technology as a platform for developing the economies of the entire Caribbean region. I take this responsibility very seriously. In fact, we are already moving an old front with we're establishing the CKLN, the Center for Knowledge and Learning Network, which I am the Prime Minister responsible for. We also convened a meeting of all ministers of ICT from Trinidad, Jamaica, Barbados, and the rest of the Eastern Caribbean. to look at a specific plan of action to integrate our efforts on ICT, because what was happening before is each country doing a bit on their own. And we are showing each other, look, if we integrate our resources or what we have, we'll be able, that master plan for the region will benefit each island individually, and collectively also we'll all be better off. I think that message has gone down, so the region after the presentation gave me the responsibility to lead in this particular area. So my view is that if we use the platform well, as I told President Bush and President Clinton one time, I said, look, if you want to curb immigration, which they deny they're doing, I said, but if you want to curb it, help us to create the knowledge society, because I would not leave Grenada and come to Washington and in the snow and so on, and I have to bring nice weather for you. If I could stay home and earn a serious livelihood and get the education that we deserve. So I'm seeing that platform as critical for developing our society and our economy and satisfying the aims and wishes of our people, particularly our youth. So, friends, having said this, as I said before, we see the challenge of climate change and dealing with that issue as absolutely crucial. We have seen the effects of not taking that issue seriously. The damage that we have done to our coastlines, to our marine resources, to our country as a whole, and to the life and the bread of our people. So I see this as a critical aspect of our thrust in government. And we believe that because of the country we have and the environment and the opportunities, we can have an agriculture which is green. We can have a tourism sector which is green. We can have an economy as a whole which is green. And if we can do that and get the success and protect our environment, what else do we want? So thank you again for inviting me to this important institution. And I clearly look forward to any questions that you wish to ask. Molly, thank you again.
Prime Minister Mitchell, thank you so much for your remarks and for your dedication in dealing with an issue that doesn't only impact Grenada or the Caribbean, but nations the world over. I'd like to open up the floor for questions. Please remember that to introduce yourself and your news organization first. Anyone? No questions. The remarks were just that thorough, sir. No? All right. Well, Prime Minister and Ambassador, Your Excellency and Mr. Erickson, thank you so much for being here with us this afternoon. And I understand that you have a ride out of town. So thank you so much for making the time for us. Everybody, thank you for coming.
I did tell Molly I'm not leaving the weather.
No, we're going to keep the springtime. Thank you.